Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Eleanor Quince and I work in the Faculty of Humanities. I'm actually a lecturer in the History department, but I also have a role at faculty level and I run our employability activity, and I have a fancy job title of Director of Employability. What I'd like to talk to you about today is harnessing technology for employability, in particular developing digital literacy skills in student-led career activity. So the Faculty of Humanities here at Southampton is quite a large faculty. It comprises of 7 different broad subject areas: archaeology, English, film, history, modern languages, music, and philosophy. I have to count them off on my fingers to make sure I don't forget any of them. The 7 areas comprise within them smaller areas, smaller disciplinary areas. So we have, at faculty level, a real breadth of student to work with. So when I'm designing career activity, I have to make sure that that activity is suitable not only for the student group as a whole, so covers students from first years right the way up to postgraduate researchers, but also that it has a subject-specific element, so that those students who are in, say, history, can understand what skills a history degree is helping them to develop and can understand what sorts of career paths they can then undertake as a historian. Now, I, in my role as Director of Employability, encounter problems which I'm sure anyone who works in the area of employability has encountered. So these tend to be students not really starting to think about careers early enough. I tend to get the sort of panic moment in the final year where students suddenly go, oh, I need to think about my career. And also students not really knowing what it is that they want to do. And the common thing that I get is this: I don't know what it is that I want to do. And I get this from students at every level, but in particular, final year students, as I said, going through that panic moment and coming and saying, but I don't know what it is that I want to do. So how on earth can you help me find a job? Can you help me decide what my career path should be? And I think we in humanities don't necessarily help our students, because one of the things that we tell them, and we tell them it because it's true, is that you can, with a humanities degree, any one of our subjects, do more or less any career you want to. The options available to you are very, very broad. And I think this does our students something of a disservice, because it doesn't really help them to do that work in honing what it is that they want to achieve, what it is that they want to do. And because very few of them actually get work experience opportunities, they don't really have any idea of what sorts of careers they could try out, what kinds of things they might like, what they're best suited to. So part of my job in aiming to make our students more employable is to try and find a way, try and find a strategy or a mechanism which will provide our students with an answer to this question, or this statement rather, I don't know what it is that I want to do, as early as possible. So last academic year I started having a rethink about our employability activity, trying to work out how I could shake things up and how I could change things. And I ran some student focus groups to actually ask our students, what is it that you want? And I was quite surprised by the answer, because it was almost the polar opposite to what I was expecting. Because what they said to me was actually they wanted something really structured and really formal. We'd always previously run our employability activity quite ad hoc. So we'd organise a fun event and we'd advertise it, and then I'd get really disappointed because we'd get really small numbers, even though we opened it up to all of our students, which is about 3,000. And I could never really work out why, given that these were fantastic opportunities, our students weren't engaging with them. So it was a real surprise to me to hear our students say that actually they wanted something really formal. So I started looking into the idea of creating an employability module, which I would roll out to our first year students. But at the back of my mind was this worry that if I had got it wrong, if I hadn't really understood what it was that our students wanted, and bearing in mind I'd been doing employability activity by this point for 4 years, then how could I ensure that I created something that our students actually were going to engage with and actually wanted? This structured module that actually fitted the bill and actually provided them with something useful. So I decided that if I was serious about this, the best thing for me to do was to actually go to our students and say, okay, if you want this, you're going to help me put it together and help me design it and help me make something that is going to be useful. So I ended up getting some money from the nice people in the university to take on some summer interns. And I took on 4 summer interns last summer. And those students worked with me to create, first of all, the employability module, and then a series of support activity evolving around employer engagement, alumni engagement, and also a peer mentoring and support system. And this was not an easy task because the students were hugely enthusiastic and they knew what it was they wanted to do, but obviously we had only 12 weeks in which to do it. And trying to harness those ideas and trying to narrow them down was quite a challenge. But I think what we did has worked, and I think the way in which we use technology to make it work has been a good thing, and that's what I want to articulate today. So in order to help explain this, I'm going to tell you a story. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the story of James. So this is James, and he's a genuine student. This is not a photograph that I stole from the internet. He is a final year now. He's in his 4th year of his modern languages degree, studying German and Spanish, and he'll be graduating this summer. When he applied for an internship with me in summer 2014, he'd just come back from his year abroad. And James is a hugely enthusiastic student. He's incredibly personable. He's the kind of person that people want to sort of hang about with and network with and things. So I was very keen to take him on over the summer because I thought this is somebody who can engage other students in our activity. This is somebody who can actually get staff on side with what I'm trying to do. As part of the initial process that I went through with all of the 4 interns, we did an assessment of our strengths and weaknesses and what kind of role it was that we were best suited to. And as I said, James is a hugely personable person, and therefore he found he sat very easily into a communications style role. He was very interested in marketing and very interested in how we might market the activity that we were trying to do. And as I said, I've had problems in the past in encouraging students to attend activity, so I was quite keen to hear James's ideas. James went through the internship over the 3-month period, and he vastly exceeded my expectations because not only did he help to formulate a fantastic module and help to create all of the other activity that we were doing, but he actually created an entire brand for us. He created the Mission Employable brand, which has its own logo, which is the little butterfly you can see in the corner of James's photograph there, and which we have subsequently used. So we use the term Mission Employable and we use the butterfly on everything we do. James developed social media outlets for us. So we've got a Twitter account, we have a Facebook page, we have various groups, and we have all of these things online which James created. As we went through the process of running the project, we documented our activity on a blog and through an e-newsletter, which we sent out faculty-wide, so that academic staff knew what we were doing, and through the blog, which was open to everyone, our students knew what we were doing, and we promoted this through existing media channels. We started to make connections with student societies and groups within the faculty and also the wider university, and we asked them to push through their social media what we were up to, so that students began, even in those early days of the summer, to be aware. Now, why I'm telling you about James in particular is because James's story has a really successful ending. So as James went through the process over the summer with me, what he did, as I've said, is to document everything and to create this fantastic social media vision for us. So everything he did was very much available. He could log into his LinkedIn page, he could log onto the blog, he could showcase the e-newsletters, he could show the web page, he could show absolutely everything and put it all out there. And James began the process, as many final year students do, of applying to different jobs. And one of the companies that he applied for was a company called Global Payments, who basically manage all of the little machines. When you go into your shop and you want to buy something, you have a little machine that you put your credit card into. And they've recently done fancy things with mobile phones where you can pay with your mobile phone. So they're a company that is trying to push forward technological advancement. And they're a company who realised that they were not necessarily in touch with younger people. They were thinking that payment by mobile phone, new kinds of mechanisms of payment coming through, were things that they wanted young people to be using, and they needed to find a way to engage younger people. So when James went for his interview, he took a slightly different tack, and instead of answering the question he was asked to interview, he asked a question back and said to the CEO, "What is it you are looking for from me?" And after listening to what the CEO said, he then said, "Oh, well, over the summer, I did a fantastic project called Mission Employable, where I actually set up a brand, and I did all of the things that you've just been telling me you want done for your company. And here are examples online, readily available in the ether, for you to have a look at so that I can show you all the things that I have done." Unsurprisingly, James was offered a job on the spot. So our story has a nice, happy, successful ending. Sadly, I can't do this for every single one of our 3,000 students. I would if I could. I would give them all summer internships and send them all on the path that James has been on. But that's not possible. However, the work we did over the summer has enabled us to benefit all of our students through producing activity, including the module and other support activity, which enables our students to grow their own skills, assess their own skills, and to do that right from the very start as a means of curbing the panic moment at the end of their final year when they don't know what it is that they want to do. So I'm going to show you a few examples of some of the ways in which we harness technology in order to get this project going. So first of all, as I said, we only had 12 weeks in which to put Mission Employable together. So we contacted Iliad, and Fiona Harvey very kindly helped us source things that would support us through the process. So the first thing we did as part of the Mission Employable project was to undertake some research. And we did this partly through using Scoop.it, which I'm sure many of you know is a tool which can enable you to collect lots and lots and lots of information from the web. And we use Scoop.it to look for employability activity going on at other universities, articles that people had written about employability, things from like the HEA, anything we could that was about employability in order to build up a picture of what employability looks like and what other universities are doing. We then used Trello, which is an organising and planning tool, to help the student interns work together as a team. I always find that in humanities we don't necessarily have vast amounts of opportunities for our students to undertake team working. So an opportunity for our students to be able to find a tool that helps them to work as a team, to plan as a team, was hugely valuable. So we used this throughout the process. And then as we started to set up our events and activities for the forthcoming academic year, which we were doing with our students, it's student-led activity, so we were encouraging students to think about the sorts of activities they'd like to do, to propose them to us, and then to set them up and run them themselves. We used Eventbrite to set up events, set up those activities, so that students could have a link that they can publicise in their own Facebook groups, and their society web pages, etc., out to the student group they want to encourage to become part of that event, and Eventbrite enables them to do that. We continued to engage students right the way through the summer, and this was something of a challenge for us because a lot of students, particularly undergraduate students, disappear for the summer months, and some of the activity we wanted to do required connecting with those groups of students. So, as I've mentioned, we use Facebook groups, existing society groups, to reach out to membership. We used surveys, which we put out to say, okay, this is what we'd like to do. What do you think of what we're doing? We also use Facebook polls. And then as we started moving through this, we have our Twitter account, we have our own Facebook pages and groups, we have our WordPress blog, and we're thinking we're using this technology to help us make sense of what we're doing. And actually we could encourage students as they're going through to use this technology to make sense of what it is that they want to do. So when we started building the module content for our first year module, our structured module to be delivered to all of our new first year students, we looked for interesting ways of using technology to engage those students. So in the very first lecture we used Kahoot, which as you may know is a quiz tool. You can build a little quiz. And we did a little bit of a quiz on helping students to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, so the little project that I did with the interns. And to get them thinking in those very initial weeks, we ran the first lecture in week 3, to get them thinking about career paths really early on. We also used YouTube videos, and we used fun things. We used a clip from Have I Got News For You, for example, to try and get the students to see careers in a different light. So to actually think about employability and think about careers as something which is hugely important and is something they can think about really early on in the safe space that is the university, because there are opportunities for them to try different things. We had YouTube videos which show journeys, career paths, alumni videos, things that our students have done, so that they can start to see the breadth of opportunity, but also perhaps start to work out what kinds of things they might be good at through that process of analysis. We are, for the module, using the university's VLE Blackboard. So as well as running the module face-to-face, because it only has 4 lecture slots throughout the academic year, 2 in semester 1, 2 in semester 2, we use Blackboard extensively to support the students, to provide a learning environment which gives them things to do when they're not in the lecture theatre with us. So on the Blackboard course, we have all of the links to things like the YouTube videos that I've mentioned, but also further quizzes that they can do, documents they can fill out, things they can save and take away with them, activities, information about career destinations and the kinds of activities that it runs for students here. So we made it basically a massive information portal, but a structured one, so that students have certain things to be looking at different times. As part of the support network that I've spoken about, we created a peer mentoring scheme, which we rolled out in October. And this peer mentoring scheme was designed to support our new students coming in, but also because we were very conscious of the fact that in setting up a new employability module, we had this double challenge. We had the issue of 7 different disciplines who all needed bespoke information, and the challenge of a brand new subject, employability, being pushed out to students very early on. And the question that they asked, because it's the question they're going to ask, why are you making us do this now? I haven't even started my degree yet, and you're making me think about my career, which won't be for another 3 years. So we put a peer mentoring system in place to help acclimatise the students to starting in university, to provide them with peer support, but also to start to talk to them peer-to-peer level about employability. And as I said, a lot of our activity this year has been student-led. We've encouraged students to take ownership of this activity. We've given them the digital tools to help them do it, and we're getting them to set up their own events and activities. So for us, when we set up the peer mentoring scheme, which we did over the summer, we had to do it electronically. We had to do it via the internet because students were not here and we didn't have an opportunity to talk to them face-to-face. So we did everything through iSurvey application, through Facebook group, through email. We did everything at a distance. And amazingly, we got 168 of our students offering to be mentors. And we were able to set up a mentoring network for every single one of our incoming first years, which was amazing. And we've kept that going through having a specific peer mentor Facebook group, which they can share any issues that come up. So they can collaborate on the Facebook group, and it's a private group only for the peer mentors themselves, but they can share any issues, they can talk about what kinds of things they might want to do in order to support one another through the process. Finally, we put all of our activity into a little article which we published in a journal of Educational Innovation, Partnership and Change this year. And the student interns and myself co-authored the paper, and we put it in and we talked about all of the things that we've done. The reason we did this is because we wanted a paper which would be accessible to a wider audience. We've done a lot of promotional work through electronic media, through social media, internally within the university, but we haven't really put ourselves out there nationally. So the article was an opportunity for us to do that. And I'm pleased to say we've had lots of positive feedback on our activity as a result. And I've had lots of different universities contact me about setting up their own employability module. And I've also had lots of interest from people who are keen on learning how they could set up student-led activity. And the student-led activity really, I think, has been the strength of what we've been able to achieve. And the digital tools that we've given the students have enabled them to do that. I think as time goes on, what we are going to find is that digital literacy and an increased digital literacy for our students becomes ever more important. James's story that I showed you at the very beginning shows how coming in with a fresh, youthful perspective, being able to say, look, I've already done this project, and here, online, available to everyone, is the proof that I've done this project before and that I can help your company. Telling this kind of story, being able to evidence this kind of story, is exactly what our students need to do. And this is what I want to try and provide them with, to try and set them up with. And I would like, my goal is by sort of 2018, which may be a little ambitious, to eradicate the I don't know what it is that I want to do from our students. I don't want students coming to me and telling me that. I want them all to have gone through a module. We've rolled out the first year module. We've got a second year module to come, which will start this October, then a final year module the following year. And by that point, I'm hoping that our students will have gone through this process and been able to work out what it is that they want to do, what it is that they're interested in, what it is that they're suited for. And that through this process, we will have given them the digital tools they need to be as impressive as James was at his interview. So we've got lots of things that we are looking into at the moment, including something I'm very keen on, which is a portfolio tool to allow students to have an open and available platform to showcase what they're doing, not only inside their degree programme, but also all of the activities they get involved in outside, and to help them to articulate what they're learning through our employability module. So I'm hoping you'll join with me on trying to eradicate the I don't know what it is that I want to do, and that we will have a new generation of super employable graduates come summer 2018. Thank you very much.